Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. Welcome to WOWBIZ, Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. What does Viagra, Sesame Street, and Cirque du Soleil have in common? I'm going to answer that question for you in just a few minutes. This is a strategy segment right here on WOWBIZ Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. You know, one of the most common questions that I hear bandied around as I meet with various organizations is, we need a new strategy. What's your strategy? Is our strategy working? Strategy is a very fascinating thing. It's constantly going through some kind of adaptation to the changing era, fast-paced era that we're a part of. I'm going to talk for you for just a few minutes about a new type of strategy called Blue Ocean Strategy. Now, Blue Ocean Strategy was written up in a book by Ken Chin, I'm not saying it quite correctly, Chen Kim, Chen Kim, brilliant man, considered one of the top consultants in the world today. He developed a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, and he talked about something that I know you're going to want to know about. So I can't wait to explain this to you. Now let me just start with this little exercise. And by the way, I've got a great guest coming on the back end of the show, so please stick with me if you're not that interested in strategy. But let me ask you this. Think about the name of your company, the name of your organization that you belong to, and what if I met you on the street and I said, I'm going to challenge you right now. I want you to think about a total rethinking of what your company, blah, 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 whatever it is, has to offer. A total rethinking of what it really is there for, its real purpose and existence. Now, this is a very important question. A lot of people think about it but don't talk about it openly. What I want to talk to you about is what is strategy, right? How is strategy created? And basically it's three things. So you're going to think about this for a second, and then you'll learn how Blue Ocean Strategy fits in and what an incredible asset it is for you if indeed you can absorb this brief nugget right here. First of all, strategy involves the very first approach to strategy is try to come up with a superior performing product or service in an existing market, right? Somebody's already doing what they're doing. You're going to come into that market and you feel like you can do what they're doing better, all right? That is a very natural and a normal approach to strategy, and it's a very difficult strategy to win at, all right? Now, the second one is a little different. The second one is when you look at a market, some sector of the economy, or maybe some people in the economy, could be consumers or buyers of some sort, and you redefine the problem that they're having. It's a very important idea that you think about it differently, right? And you say, you know, if it's this, and we think about it this way, we can solve that problem, and we can come at it completely differently, right? And then the third way is to actually rethink the entire marketplace and tap into the consumer's brain. Now, I used to do some work with an engineering firm here in town. I went out and said, I'm going to talk to your customers, all right? I'm going to talk to them, and they're going to be very honest and candid with me as I interview them. We're talking now about this third approach to strategy. This leads to the Blue Ocean thing that I mentioned to you before. And I asked them how they do, blah, blah, blah. Are they good at what they do? Yeah. I said, how do you feel when they're in your presence, when they're in your company, and when they're out in the field with you, when they're doing their job and so on, when you're interacting with them? How does it make you feel? Now that was a game changer. So, well, you know, they don't really, it's not really, we're not on the same page, we don't operate in the same way, they kind of have an arrogant attitude when they're around us, we don't really feel that good around them. So we're not calling them anymore even though they actually know what they're doing, but we just don't like their vibe. Now, when I brought that piece of insight, along with a bunch of other research interviews, back to the client, I mean, their eyes banged out of their head. I don't think in 30 years of existing, anybody ever talked to them about how their customers feel when they're in their presence and what kind of vibe or attitude they project out in the field or in the other offices. So this is how new services and products are built on that kind of candid, insightful feedback. Now, I mentioned to you before Viagra and Sesame Street and so on and so forth. These are products that do not take anything away from existing competitors. You know, when you work for a company that says, well, get your competition, get them all lined up, analyze our product, are we better, are we worse, you know, get benchmarks, and they're good at this. Best practices, this is a favorite thing. Let's embrace best practices. What we're really saying is let's be like the competition. That's what we're really saying when we say that. Let's be like the competition. They're really good at this, so let's try to be good at that. And of course, as we all know, no matter how hard you try, they'll never be as good at it, right? They'll always be slightly better at whatever we're discussing, customer service, product development, pricing, whatever it is, all right? So I'm throwing out the best practices paradigm right now, right? What I'm saying is look at the marketplace differently altogether. That's what they do with Viagra, the whole erectile dysfunction industry. That all just exploded as a result of Viagra, the branded product that came in there. That was a lifestyle product, no longer some kind of a medical or pharmaceutical thing that the pharmacist pulled out from behind the counter and gave to a guy. Totally different deal, just exploded Viagra. Now Sesame Street, think about that for just a minute. I mean, there's all kinds of educational programming on TV and elsewhere for kids, you know, very important for them, but nobody ever did it like Sesame Street. It's just a massive breakthrough in infant and child education, right? Huge. Goes on and on to this day. But I really want to talk to you about Cirque du Soleil. I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show. You know, 20 years ago or so, there was a circus industry, right? This is very important insight for you. You'll remember everything about Blue Ocean Strategy as a result of this particular story. And there was all the circus operators went around the country, as you know, and they would pull the animals with them, right? And particularly the elephants, right? The elephants were the big deal in a circus. And elephants took a lot of time and energy to take care of, and medicine and food and so on. They were very costly. But the people that ran the circuses were sure that this was the key thing, that they had to have elephants. That's what people attended the circus for, right? So here come some people from France, and they said, let's rethink this whole deal. Right off the bat, let's get rid of the elephants, right? Let's cut our costs 30%, let's get rid of the elephants, right? Now, let's add some elements in to the formula. Let's add opera. Yeah, let's add opera into this formula. It has a circus feel to it, but we're going to have opera music, and then let's have like acrobatics and you know the kinds of things you see on Olympics and so on, and people on the rings and things like that, and they're moving in relationship to the opera, and then we have all the things going on that are circus-like. And we have this fusion experience. Now, I'm talking to you about something that packs it in Las Vegas every single night. People from all over the world come to watch Cirque du Soleil. It was invented like this, and so what happened, right? What happened? First of all, they differentiated themselves, right? That's the key. That's what Michael Porter told us 25 years ago. You got to differentiate yourself, got to be different. But they also lowered costs. They got rid of the elephants and all this stuff related to that. So, I mean, just stop for a second and say, how could we both lower the costs and differentiate ourselves at the same time? Now we're talking about some clever and some interesting strategy. Now, just to wrap up here, a little example. Many different companies will think vertically. They analyze their products, they analyze their markets, they analyze their customers. It's a very vertical, linear, kind of a, how do I say it? It's a linear process, right? And they look at things differently, and everything is a silo in your mind as you kind of beat in on all these individual elements in your plan. But there's a phrase in the whole Blue Ocean book or set of books, and this newest one is called Blue Ocean Shift. I'm going to hold it up here so the camera can see it. And the phrase is, look across. Look across. What they're really saying is look across these vertical lines and start to tie them together in creative ways. You will come up with new products and services, new ways to create value. I'm going to give you an example with Hy-Vee grocery stores out of West Des Moines. So they could be doing what I'm going to share you with right now before we wrap up. I'm going to set Blue Ocean Shift down. It's a great book. You're going to want to read this by Chan Kim, by the way, is the author, as I mispronounced before. So Let's say, for instance, you've been to Hy-Vee, you're checking out over there. Now, by the way, you might know they've kind of upscaled. They're a little bit under whole earth grocery stores. You're familiar with them, but they've really upscaled. It's a very premium operation these days. And they've added restaurants, right, adjacent to the grocery store area. And they do very nicely there, beautiful menus and upscale. It's a very nice little destination. Unfortunately, hardly anybody goes there. Hardly anybody goes there. Nobody's in the restaurants. They put millions of dollars into setting up restaurants adjacent to Hy-Vee's grocery store areas. Now, what's interesting is they've got a bunch of managers that are thinking about the grocery store and the shelves and the merchandise and the checkout and all that stuff, and they're over here. And then they have a different division over here that runs these restaurants, and there's even a bar. And they're very separate operations. They look at their businesses differently. They're really not and yet they're part of the same company, right? So if you go through a checkout line at Hy-Vee, you could easily, right? They could easily use artificial intelligence, data on your little savings card and so on and say, oh, you went over $100 today, you get a 20% discount over in our beautiful restaurant with you and your family. Have a nice night. Boom, 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 right? There could be all kinds of cross-promotion, particularly from the grocery area into the restaurant. Now, this is a blue ocean idea. Now you're thinking about the experience as a whole experience. We're gonna grocery shop, then we're gonna eat for sure, because we're gonna get great discounts, right? And they have the opportunity to do this cross-promotion, bundle those two very separate islands together, and really leverage and merchandise all of that together in one thing. Now, this is a very superficial skim of Blue Ocean strategy and Blue Ocean shift, as I mentioned to you before. But I want to tell you, it's very, very possible. This is where you want to go for big margins, customers that are loyal, customers that love your brand, and customers say, nobody's like that. Sesame Street, Cirque du Soleil, I mean, who does that but them, right? That's what we're looking for. That's where loyalty, that's where the profits are made, that's where the fun is made. I'm Lynn Hinderocker right here in WOWBIZ, Nebraska. Please consider buying the book Blue Ocean Shift and or Blue Ocean Strategy, same deal. All right, we're going to be right back with a new guest, but I do want to mention to you, alphatech.com is our new sponsor. They come to your home or office and pick up the computer, take it back, handle it for you. Very, very convenient. And then, of course, Curzon Promotional Graphics, who has been with us from the very beginning. They are the core sponsors. Give Curzon Promotional Graphics a call when you have need some inspiration or some production, some signage, and obviously all your graphics. We'll be right back with a very exciting interview with Monica Sempek, an outstanding photographer. We're going to talk about what really goes on between the photographer and the subject, the psychology of it, and how a small business like hers grows exponentially. We'll be right back. Thanks.